The golden sunlight streamed through the wide windows of a mansion that seemed to glow with wealth and power. Yet inside those pristine walls unfolded a scene that pierced deeper than any riches could hide. An elderly man, his frail body bent from years of hardship, was on his knees against the polished wooden floor. A mop slipped from his trembling hand, a bucket tipped over beside him, soapy water spreading like his tears across the boards. He pressed his hands together, his voice cracking under the weight of desperation as he whispered words that shattered the silence. "Please. I'm your father." Above him, towering in cold disdain, stood a young woman dressed in elegance, his son's fiancée, dripping with arrogance and venom. Her eyes narrowed with irritation rather than sympathy. Her lips curled into a mocking smile as if his pain were entertainment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in a world where love should triumph over cruelty, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Every gesture of support helps us bring stories that matter, stories that can change the way we see each other. The old man's name was Alfred Rowan, a man once strong, once proud, once full of laughter. Life had not been kind to him in his later years. He had lost his wife to illness, his job to the passage of time, and his home to mounting debts. All he had left was his only son, Victor, who had grown into a brilliant businessman, a millionaire now living in the very mansion where Alfred knelt. Yet somewhere along the climb to success, Victor distanced himself from the roots that once nourished his dreams, and Alfred was left outside the gates, unseen, unheard. On that particular morning, Alfred came with a heart full of hope. He longed for reconciliation, for the warmth of a son's embrace, for a chance to remind Victor that beneath wealth and power, family is the true treasure. But as he entered, dragging weary legs across marble, he encountered Cassandra, Victor's fiancée. She was as radiant as the house itself. Flawless makeup, an expensive silk dress, jewels that sparkled, beauty sharpened by cruelty. To her, Alfred was not the father of the man she planned to marry. He was a stain on their perfect image, an inconvenience to be pushed aside. Alfred had stumbled while trying to help clean the floor after accidentally knocking over a bucket. His joints gave way. He fell, old bones aching as he grasped the mop for support. Tears welled, not only from pain but from humiliation. That was when the plea burst from his lips, raw and unguarded. "Please. I'm your father." Cassandra only laughed. Her voice was sharp and cutting, echoing through the grand hallway like shards of glass. She mocked his shabby clothes, his trembling hands, his audacity to call himself father to a man of Victor's stature. Each cruel word was a dagger. Alfred's heart broke a little more with every insult. He thought of the days he carried Victor on his shoulders through the park, of the nights he stayed awake to stitch Victor's torn school uniforms because they couldn't afford new ones, of the meals he skipped so his boy could eat. All those sacrifices, all that love, now invisible beneath Cassandra's disdain. The air tightened with suspense when the front door key turned in the lock. Cassandra froze for a beat, her mocking smile faltering as Victor Rowan stepped inside, tall, sharp, confident in a tailored suit. He looked every inch the man of power the world admired, briefcase in one hand, phone in the other. But when his eyes lifted and took in the sight, his father collapsed on the floor, soap suds spreading like tears, the confident mask cracked. Time seemed to stop. Victor's face drained of color as his phone clattered to the marble. His heart thundered, because in that instant he saw not a frail old man, but the father who had once been his entire world. He remembered rough hands lifting him when he fell, the warm voice that sang him to sleep, the strength that shielded him from storms. And now that same father was kneeling, begging, humiliated in his own son's home. Victor's gaze snapped to Cassandra. Her lips parted in a flimsy excuse, but the cold fury in his eyes silenced her. He stepped forward, slow, heavy with realization, and knelt beside Alfred. His manicured hands reached for his father's trembling ones. "Dad," his voice cracked, thick with emotion, In that single word, years of distance collapsed. Alfred sobbed openly, tears soaking into Victor's suit as his son embraced him. For the first time in so long he felt seen, felt loved. Victor whispered apologies, raw and unpolished, for every moment he failed to be the son Alfred deserved. The mansion that once felt like a fortress of cold wealth now pulsed with a warmth born of reunion. Cassandra stood frozen, her arrogance crumbling under the weight of Victor's wrath. He rose, an arm protectively around his father, and in a voice that shook with righteous anger, told her that cruelty had no place in his life, his future, or his home. With that, the engagement that once sparkled in society pages crumbled like ash, because Victor understood that no wealth, no beauty, no power outranks the man who gave him everything. The days that followed were filled with healing. Victor arranged for his father to live with him, not as a burden, but as family. He made sure Alfred's every need was met, but more importantly, he gave him his time, his love, and his gratitude. The mansion was no longer just a display of wealth. It became a home filled with laughter, shared meals, and the quiet strength of a bond renewed. Alfred, though aged and fragile, walked with a lighter step, his heart unburdened by loneliness. Viewers, if this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to channel. These are not just stories. They are reminders that love, forgiveness, and kindness can transform even the coldest moments into miracles. And before we end, tell us in the comments, what does family mean to you, and who is that one person you could never give up on? Because at the end of the day, Alfred's story is not just his alone. It reflects what we all seek: to be loved, to be remembered, and to be cherished by those we call our own.